A Light in the Darkness Chapter 61, Fan Fiction by Azazyel. On the final day of the wargame, I was awoken by an obnoxiously loud horn that was thankfully muffled by the building I was in, knowing that the game was officially over. I just tiredly rolled out of bed, rubbing my eyes as I stretched, and as my arms fell down, I just grinned at how I won this wargame. "Let's go see the guild representative outside to make sure nothing fucky is going on," I muttered as I changed into my bodysuit that would keep my body cool and from chaffing within my Meteor Armor. While I went into the kitchen area, I previously made to snag a sandwich. As I walked out of the log cabin mansion I couldn't help but smile as I took in the homely, large house, and I wondered aloud. I wonder if I can actually keep this place as a kind of vacation house. Well, I could set a teleport point or something to get out of Rio in a pinch. I said, shrugging as I took out the flag I was supposed to keep safe from its locked chest and headed toward the guild tent. The guild ran a tent that was officiating the war game was only half a mile away from the cabin I made, so it didn't take me long at all to get there. But as I approached, I frowned a bit, seeing no one outside standing guard in case of some goblins or other surface monsters popping up. But I could distantly hear some giggling, seemingly coming from within the tent as I approached, so I just stowed away my thoughts as I approached the tent. Once I got closer, the sounds of my metal feet breaking the dead leaf-covered forest floor made the giggling cut off to a dead silence that filled the air as I myself stopped walking at the sounds of the merriment in the tent dying off instantly. "Hey guys, it's just me. I wanted to come see what I needed to do with the war game being over," I called out, making sure that if there was a trigger-happy adventurer within the tent, they didn't try to take off my head if they thought I was a monster or something. A female voice that was filled with amusement then called back to me. "Oh, Jake, please come on in, we were just waiting for you, in fact. We also got a wonderful gift for you from the guild as well," the voice said merrily, making me blink in surprise. Why the hell would the guild have a gift for me? I thought they hated me after I told them to get fucked when it came to using my tunnel and such. Walking into the guild tent, I froze at the sight before me. Within the large guild tent on the sides was a literal pile of bodies all seemingly frozen, which sealed in the scent of their death, and I could recognize the Ganesha style and matching dye jobs. But sitting before the large table where I did the paperwork to start the wargame was two lithe, honestly rather beautiful female elves standing beside someone who was strapped to a chair and had a blood-soaked burlap sack over their head. The elf on the left was an elf with pale, almost cream-colored skin who was wearing a revealing, low-cut dress both on the top and bottom, while having almost sun-like golden hair with blue eyes that twinkled with mad joy as she saw me walk in, freezing at the sight before me. The other elf on the right side was a dark elf with mocha-dark skin, silver hair, and golden eyes. She was wearing a skin-tight body that clung to her ample curves with only a thin skirt that covered her lower parts. "Oh, Jake, we were so damned worried you would sleep in today and this wretch wouldn't live long enough to see you come check on her," the blonde elf said cheerily, oddly pausing on why whoever was sitting there wouldn't be able to see me. So, I just refocused on her with my magna gun flashing into my hands. "What the hell is this? And who are you two?" I demanded as sand from my desert cloak swirled around me to cloak me, taking out my magic mirror so I could teleport back home in an instant if needed. "Oh hiya, you don't know our names," the dark elf said as she pouted, kicking the chair and apparently, the person's leg, making a loud cracking noise, making the person bound up and with their head covered up, moan pitifully at the feeling of their leg probably breaking. "We are the Dis Sisters," they said in a parody of twin speak as their hands came together seamlessly, with the hands aimed at me, with their victims smushed between the elfish ladies. "I am Dina, and this is my sister Vina," the blonde one, apparently, Dina said while gesturing to her dark elf sibling, Vina. Then she continued speaking as their hands fell apart, and the hand she held her sister's zipped in a blur to the covered head and apparently grabbed the person's hair as she thrashed her back and forth. "So, Jackie, you want to play a game? I make this bitch squeal after I remove her gag, and if you figure out who she is, I will give her a quick, clean death before I cut off all your own limbs and take you back home," she said cheerily, even making me up a kind of nickname. But all I could feel was the sheer bloodlust coming off her that matched Alan when he was in a bad mood. "Ah, Dina, that's not much of a prize at all. We can at least let him have a hand so he can wipe his own ass, right?" Vina said with actual kindness in her voice. She honestly sounded like she was doing me a favor something and took pride in it. As I stared at the burlap sack and as I saw beyond all the blood covering it, I could see trailing just out of the bag was long brown hair. "Ina," I called out softly, and a cold, murderous rage filled me as her head lolled with her moaning through her gag as she somehow registered me calling her name. I coolly stared back up at the two elves who grinned with true happiness and even clapping, making their voluptuous curves bounce within their tight-fitting, exposing clothes. "Wow, Jake, you are so observant for a pathetic human being." Vina excitedly clapped as she ripped off the hood from Ina, and my blood went cold as I saw what the hell they did to her. Ina was a total wreck. And as I took in her new appearance, the blonde elf reached into a cup and threw onto the table several 4 parts of Ina that made me want to vomit despite having killed people in the dungeon and the Evelus members that attacked me before. All races are lesser than elves. All of them and the filth that is half-elves especially need to be reminded of that. Plus, she tried biting our hands as we were sawing off her mongrel ears, so. Eye for an eye, we took her eyes as well, ha. Vina manically cackled as I saw Ina's pits where her eyes once were aimed at me with blood seeping from each of her eye sockets and the brutalized flesh where her half-elf ears were before. My jaw vibrated as I fought the urge to grind my teeth. I took a breath and looked at the cunts in front of me as I committed their very appearance to my memory. She may not have been much of a friend to me, but she is a close friend and was the guide of my actual best friend. I said as hiding within the sands of my cloak, I took out an arm-sized squirming worm. She wasn't my friend, but she was connected to me anyway, and this karma you will bleed for, I said, flexing my hands, crushing the squirming worm within my hands. The girls' eyes widened as their senses went haywire. Our tent was blown up into the air as the ground shattered beneath us and a tornado of sand-filled winds shot everywhere as I dashed forward grabbing Ina and her ears and began all but flying backward as I used the rain enchantment I created while living in the mansion to send a bolt of lightning at the two buying me the spilt second to get out of the tent's shade as a monstrous shadow filled the surroundings. With an apocalyptic crashing noise, the Eater of Worlds that I summoned attempted to dive-bomb the tent I was within, but unfortunately, the Dis Sisters, as they wanted to be known as, were obviously fast and high-leveled as they managed to deal with the bolt of lightning I sent at them and get away from the Eater of Worlds. "Have fun for a bit, you stupid cunts," I snarled as I teleported back home with Ina in my hands, as I could feel her ever-so-faint heartbeat as my hands held her blood-covered nude upper body against my chest. The moment I landed home I instantly began first aid, pouring potions of healing and regeneration both on her wounds and into her mouth as I screamed out, "Help! I got wounded here. Come here now." I all but screamed, and I could hear Belle or someone literally pull a door off its hinges as they dashed through the store's living section, as they got into the room. Seeing Philvis come into the room, I put Ina's ears next to her as I shouted, "Heal her with your healing spells, use elixirs, and take her to a mid from the Gen Chet to get her healed. I got to go," I snarled as I used a return potion to teleport to where I just was before teleporting. As I returned to where I was previously, I was welcomed to the sight of the Eater of Worlds having tunneled several times through the earth, creating massive tunnels as it bore through it in pursuit of the Dis Sisters, who gamely fought it using their great agility and dexterity to avoid the gouts of green cursed flames coming from the sections of the Eater of Worlds, and of course being either eaten or smashed by the monster's gargantuan bulk as they all but danced across its scaled form. I was so fucking pissed that my friends were being targeted now by Evelus. I just smiled as I flicked a large eye in one hand and in the other, I crushed a sandy medallion in the other, spawning the roaring figures of the Eye of Cthulhu and the Desert Scrooge, but this time, with how I had gotten the Fargo's mod, they were much larger and stronger as they dropped even greater items now.